In this report, after 2 months of collecting data, I give you an estimated cost of retiring early in Panama City. First, I share my estimated cost of living for 2 people in Panama City. Then I'll show you a few places you must see while in Panama City, our cheap Panama Canal tour, a few of our favorite restaurants, our best grocery stores and malls, a few nightlife spots, and our favorite weekend trip from Panama City. I will also show you a few apartments in Panama City, what they cost, and where we stayed. Finally, I'll end this video with my early retirement livability factors, such as walkability, food, social consideration, visa information, healthcare, weather, and real estate. But you do not need to take notes. Just click the first link in the notes below this video to get access to all of this content in writing. Before discussing our cost of living estimate for 2 people here, I want to answer the question, who would love to live in Panama City? Last week we showed you videos of Boquete and Bocas del Toro, Panama, but a few of you thought those 2 cities were just too small. You would need larger cities with more to do so you wouldn't get bored. Well, Panama City might be the right place for you then. The metropolitan area of Panama City has about 1.5 million people living there. Panama City is the capital city of Panama and sits at the Pacific coast entry to the Panama Canal. The city is also one of the top 5 banking capitals in Latin America. Panama City was founded in 1519 by Spanish conquistadors and served as the base for attacking the Inca Empire in Peru. Almost all of the gold looted from the Inca Empire passed through Panama City. Sir Morgan, a pirate born in England, burned Panama City to the ground in 1671. Panama City was rebuilt starting in 1673, but you can visit the ancient ruins of the burned city. Sir Morgan used the wealth he looted to buy 3 sugar plantations in Jamaica. Morgan was later knighted by King Charles II, who was not a big fan of Spain, and asked to return to Jamaica to serve as England's lieutenant governor. About 6% of the world's trade passes through the Panama Canal, as compared to 12% which passes through the Suez Canal. The canal creates about $2 billion in revenue for Panama per year, which nets about $800 million per year for the Treasury. Because of Panama's global significance in world trade and commerce, it's one of the most beautiful and modern cities in Latin America, if not the world. When you see the skyline, it may remind you of Hong Kong. There are 130 high-rises presently, with 110 more under construction. Panama uses the US dollar as their national currency, with which many retirees prefer. So would you love to live in Panama City? I would say that anyone that would like to live in a fast-growing modern metropolitan city with all that implied, such as large, gorgeous, high-rise apartments, buildings with all the amenities, a modern public transportation system, many large, fully stocked, successful shopping malls, a large international airport with direct flights all over the world, a large and diverse selection of restaurants with all the foods from around the world, an excellent modern healthcare system, a large and diverse pool of single adults, so all ages for those looking for love, and a large, clean set of supermarkets stocked with many choices of foods, both local and imported from around the world. Okay, now, cost of living in Panama City. Here's my estimated cost of living for 2 people in Panama City. Now I will give you an estimated cost of retiring early in Panama City. Panama City is one of the most expensive areas in Panama. To live in a large, beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in a high-rise closer to the ocean with views, you would easily have to pay rent of $1,200 per month or more. That's in US dollars. If you're willing to give a little further, go out a little further, or in a little rougher neighborhood, you might be able to find something for as little as half that price, or $600 per month. Now, I'm not saying dangerous necessarily, I'm just saying they're going to be a little rougher. We found a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a gated community with a guard at the gate, with 11 minutes from the Pacific Ocean for $800 per month, including utilities. The apartment had a washer and a dryer, swimming pool, parking space, balcony, AC, and was in a guarded gated community. You can send a message to the landlord to see if it's available when you're in town. I've put in the WhatsApp number at that link below. So I will use $800 per month for rent, which includes utilities, in this estimated cost of living. We loved the neighborhood, and it felt safe walking everywhere. And it was within walking distance to two malls we loved, Plaza Centennial and Alta Plaza. So we didn't need a car. Groceries, based upon our time there and the money we spent on groceries, we estimate about $360 per month in groceries for two people. Here are the two markets we shopped at, Rebus Smith and Supermercados Rey. They were the more expensive expat grocery store types. But Chung didn't care because she was buying Asian foods from smaller Asian grocery stores located in a smaller mall, also walkable from our house, links provided. Restaurants, if we went out to eat twice per week, once for date night and once for lunch somewhere, we spend about $50 per week or $200 per month in restaurants for the two of us, and mostly we would just cook at home. Cell phone data, mostly we use the internet at home, which was included in our rent, but we also need internet access from time to time when we are out of the house for Google Maps and other searches, getting Uber taxis and for finding bus connections. The cost to recharge is about $20 per month for internet for your phone. My Android phone will act as a hotspot, so we can both be on the internet at the same time when we're out of the house for $20. Laundry and water. For laundry, we had a washer and dryer in our apartment, and the utilities were included in the rent. The landlord said the water was clean, so we decided to just use a Culligan water filter on the tap water, which costs about $4 per month to refill the water filter. Internet. Internet for your house is about $50 for 10 megabits per second service, but it was included in our rent. Uber taxi. We just walked when we needed groceries and our other things to the nearby malls. We also rode buses and took Uber taxis from time to time, so we would not need a car if we moved to Panama City. They have a modern public transportation system that is well documented and accessible via Google Maps for pickup times and places. You just put where you want to go into Google Maps and then click the bus icon, and Google tells you where to catch the bus and where to make connections. I estimated it would cost us about $70 per month for all of the forms of transportation we would use here. Alcohol. Local beers, Panama and Balboa, were about $5.70 for a 6-pack of in bottles. In bars and restaurants, those prices could easily be double or triple. So for two people, we estimate about $90 per month for alcohol, which would be drinking mostly at home. Okay, so if you add those numbers up, $800 for rent, $360 for groceries, $200 for restaurants, $20 for cell phone, $4 for water filters, and $70 for transportation, including Uber, buses. The total comes to $1,454 per month for recurring obligations. And then if you add, not everyone drinks alcohol, so if you add $90 for alcohol, that would put you at $1,544 per month for two people. The above costs is for two people, but it's just an estimate on the low end. For a full understanding of what it costs you to live here, visit Numbeo, Panama City, and add anything you spend money on in your home country that's not mentioned in the table. Our costs of living are generally lower than a new traveler's because we are great bargain hunters, but there are a few people that will live much cheaper than we do. Never move anywhere until you visited first personally to verify the living costs for your lifestyle and needs. I'm not guaranteeing you these prices. These are just my notes and estimates from the time of my visit and this post. Your costs will likely be drastically different. Most expats report spending more money per month than the low-end estimate we're reporting here. You'll hear more typically living costs in the range of around $1,800 to $3,200 per month for living in Panama City. But people spending that much also have higher incomes or pensions. They often report spending more on eating out and drinking more alcohol in local bars and restaurants. Many also are paying for cars and more expensive apartments. If you're going to try to retire cheap offshore, make sure to have emergency funds available should you have some unexpected large expenses. To learn more about that, read my report called The 2 Biggest Risks of Retiring Early for Cheap Overseas. Okay, now I will share a few things you must see while you're in Panama City. Casa Viejo. You really should see the oldest part of Panama City called Casa Viejo. This is where you will experience some of the earliest constructed buildings in the original heart of the city. Casa Viejo is a living museum of the different kinds of architecture from around the world that the early foreign immigrants brought to Panama. The architecture styles speak to the diversity of the international people that immigrated to Panama in the early days, and along with more modern days. Just click the below Google map and start walking. I have all the places labeled for you with a short background on each, but I'll just mention one place that I think is historically significant, and you can come to the webpage and read about each place when you do the tour. Salon Boulevard. This is the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs presently in Panama. Salon Boulevard is the site of the historic vision where Simon Bolivar, the father of independence for most of Latin America, no kidding, he freed most of Latin America from Spain. He attempted to establish the world's first multinational and continental Congress here in 1826 in this building. And there's a bunch of great buildings here dating all the way back to a church built in 1680 with a Baroque facade. You definitely have to walk this area to really get a feel for how old and the culture that you're living in here in Panama. Okay, our Panama Canal tour, do-it-yourself tour. You could take the Panama Canal tour for $10 if you're a foreigner. Just get your reservations on the official Panama Canal webpage, link provided. You need to arrive about 15 minutes before your tour starts so you can pay for your reservation and clear security. You can take the C810 bus for about $2 per person from the Gran Terminal Nacional de Transporte, link provided. It takes about 30 minutes and leaves about every 30 minutes. So get there at least an hour before your tour reservation time. If you're running late, just order an Uber for like $6 to $10 each way, depending on traffic. And then you can take the bus the other way. Okay, favorite long weekend tour from Panama City. Our favorite long weekend tour from Panama City is in the San Blas Islands. I'll put a link below to the blog and the videos about the San Blas Islands and how to take the tour if you're interested. And you can watch all those videos and learn about it. Okay, Panama City's nightlife. Our favorite area to just hang out in the late afternoons and the evenings is the following stretch of bars, pubs, and coffee shops on Via Argentina. Just start at La Rana Dorado on the map below anytime during their happy hour, which runs from like 12 noon to 6 p.m. on weekdays to get 2-for-1 draft beers. And their craft beers, a whole bunch of beers to choose from. Have a few beers, just walk the path shown on the map and listen for music you'd like to hear and do a little bar hopping. The area felt safe to us. We also had several meals in the area, and we will list the restaurants we liked under our restaurants below. We were just taking the bus over there from our apartment for around $1 per person. But if you stay later, feel free to take a Uber taxi home, which will run you $3 to $5 or $6 depending on where you live. Okay, Panama City's best restaurants. We're providing a list of our favorite restaurants. In the video that's on the webpage, they're in random order, but they're listed top ones on the webpage, favorites on top. And I'm just going to show you a few here to entice you to go over and watch the longer video of our restaurants on the page below. We had a hot pot here that was super delicious. Hot pot is a Chinese food that's very celebratory in nature. It's celebrated families around holidays, Chinese New Year, that kind of thing. Often when families eat together in large groups. In the video above, this is the place where Chung is cooking in the middle of the table we were eating at. It was about $25, including tip for the two of us. Very delicious food. And then I'll probably mention another nice restaurant that we enjoyed, I'll mention, is Raj Indian. This was a delicious Indian food restaurant. If you get hungry after our nightlife tour, it's the last stop on the nightlife tour. It's expensive. I think it was $20 for the two of us for one meal, but it was delicious. So check that out too. All the other restaurants are listed in order below. Panama City apartment tour. We're going to show you a few apartments we looked at and tell you what they cost, and then we'll cover our livability factors over retirement desirability, our overall retirement desirability score for Panama City. Okay, Panama City livability factors and overall retirement desirability. Here are some of the factors I think about when I consider a place for retirement potential. After I discuss each factor, I'll assign an overall retirement desirability score to Panama City. Okay, walkability. I would say medium desirability. If I were to retire early in the area of the apartment where we stayed in Panama City, I would be able to walk to get my groceries and most other things I would need. Additionally, for places further away, I would use public transportation and Uber taxi, so I would not need a car. Panama also has an excellent private busing system to get you all over the country without having a car. And all of those are in Google Maps. And you can also find out more about it in Rome de Rio is a webpage that has a lot of information about buses around the world. We would use the buses to get to Bocas del Toro, Padasi, Boquete, and all of our other favorite places around Panama. We could even ride buses up into Costa Rica and further up into Central America. It is worth mentioning, if you are willing to pay more rent, you could get into a really fun and funky, even more walkable neighborhood like Via Argentina, where we did our nightlife tour, starting at around $1,000 rent per month for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. Via Argentina would have a high walkability ranking, because you would be taking the buses less because there's so much happening around there. Okay, internet. I would say high desirability. The ATT speed test on our apartment Wi-Fi was about 40 megabits per second down and 10 megabits per second up. So the internet speeds are great for our purposes. If you need a certain speed for your business or your life, I suggest reading my process for finding the perfect apartments which fulfills all of your needs. Just make sure to speed test the internet before you sign on the dotted line when you're renting an apartment long term. Okay, food, medium. Panama City Metro has about 1.5 million people with about 30,000 expats from around the world. Plus there's a large community of well-paid professionals and wealthy Panamanians interested in trying most of the foods of the world. So as you would expect, there are many international food choices. With the largest per capita incomes in the country chasing all these food choices, it's not surprising to see international foods in restaurants starting like $7, with the sky being the limit. But there were also some food carts in local restaurants in the range of about 5 to 6 per meal if you put your feet on the ground and look for mom and pop restaurants in local neighborhoods. The food in the grocery stores is expensive, but that's because there are many imported foods. If you learn how to prepare local foods at home using mostly local brands instead of imported brands, it'll be easy for you to stay on budget. So the desirability of food choices is high, but the price desirability is only medium or even low in Panama City. Weather, I would say medium. Panama City weather has very little variance temperature-wise. It ranges from warm to hot all year. The average nighttime lows only vary slightly from 75.9 Fahrenheit, which is 24.3 Celsius in September, to 78.1 Fahrenheit, which is 25.6 Celsius in May. Those are the average nighttime lows. The average daytime highs only vary slightly from 84.9 Fahrenheit, which is 29.4 Celsius in October, to 90 Fahrenheit or 32.2 Celsius in March. So there's very little temperature difference based upon seasons. 7 or more inches of rain falls in every month of the year except for December through April, when half of that amount or less falls in rain. Things to do: hiking, biking, fishing, golfing, cooking, partying, yoga, restaurants, live music, running, fine dining, coffee tasting, wine tasting, gyms, martial arts, exploring rooftop bars, exploring local restaurants or sodas, fresh fruits and vegetable markets, and neighborhoods such as Casa Viejo. Trips to beaches and islands, Panama Canal, Bocas del Toro, Boquete, Pedasi, Coronado, San Blas Islands, and nearby Costa Rica. Healthcare, hi. It was time for our annual medical checkups, and Southeast Asia was closed. We found a gynecologist for Chung that cost about $200 for everything, including blood work and a sonogram. Imagine that, all of that, and the doctor for $200. My doctor conducted a physical exam for $60, and all of my blood work cost $98. In international rankings, Panama is in the upper 25% in some rankings and upper 50% in other rankings. The doctors both spoke perfect English and spent as much time answering questions until we ran out of questions. We did not feel rushed, and we both left feeling confident that they knew what they were doing. Many of the best hospitals in Panama are in Panama City. Okay, social considerations, I would say medium. If you decide to retire in Panama City, you will want to learn some Spanish. You'll find many people in the day-to-day life that speak some English, but not as high a percentage of the population as you'll find in other areas of Panama that cater to expats and tourists. If you are single, and you'll find love easier in Panama City than other parts of the country just because of the larger population. But that pool of people available to you will be larger if you learn some Spanish. Expats, hi. There are 30,000 expats living in Panama City metro area, which has about 1.5 million people. There's an active Facebook page with expats in Panama with 10,000 members and 32 posts average per day. This group seems to have both expats and locals, but it's in English, so there's a good chance that people will see your questions and help provide your soft landing in Panama. I suggest people go to these kinds of resources to find answers to questions that only an expat would know. But make sure to make friends with both locals and expats for a richer living experience. I explain why in my report, the top 10 mistakes international retirees make. Okay, real estate, I would say medium. At the time I wrote this report, I was curious how much the condo we stayed in would cost to buy. So I Google translated the phrase condos for sale in Torres de Milan, Panama City into Spanish, and I searched on the Spanish phrase, and a condo popped up in our complex, and it was $93,000. It may be gone by the time that you read this, but it will give you an idea of the low end today in Panama. But I never recommend buying real estate until you've lived somewhere for at least 2 to 3 years. In fact, I have a report explaining why expats should not buy real estate overseas. Make sure to read that before deciding to buy. It's not the same in your home country. Okay, visas. I would say hi. Citizens of many countries are given a 90-day visa, 90-day visa-free tourist stamp upon arrival in Panama. Citizens of the US and Canada are still given 180 days, link provided to that source. If you fall in love with Panama and decide to retire here, you can apply for a retirement visa. The retiree resident status requires that an applicant demonstrate an income of pension of just $1,000 US per month and $250 US per month for each dependent. You can certainly travel to Panama on a tourist visa and later change your status in Panama. We've provided a link to all the other requirements, such as a health certificate and a police report from your home country. Safety. Hi, Panama is generally one of the safer countries to live or travel in Central and South America or Latin America. But do read the US State Department's travel advisory just to hear the worst case scenario. But I judge safety at the neighborhood level rather than the country level. So make sure to read my report on how to travel the world safely, including in your home country. Links for both of those resources. I provided all of my tips and tricks and have kept me safe for 14 plus years traveling the world. Panama City retirement desirability score overall. I would say medium to high. If you can stand warmer weather year round and like to have all the amenities and choices that a relatively wealthy and large modern city provides, then Panama City would be a good choice for you, especially if you can afford air conditioning. In that case, Panama City may be a high desirability for you. But if you are more of a nature person or more of a smaller city type that likes to have a better connection to the land around you, then Panama City will be medium or low desirability. It's a beautiful city. It's not nature. Thanks for reviewing our report, An Estimated Cost of Retiring Early in Panama City. Make sure to grab a free copy of my ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 14 Years. Please subscribe to vagabondbuddha.com or our YouTube channel to watch us move around the world 14 plus years and 67 countries so far. This is Dan of Vagabond Awake, the YouTube channel for vagabondbuddha.com. Thank you for stopping by. The world is your home. What time will you be home for dinner? Hey, if you liked our video, please like, comment, or subscribe. Any of that would help our business. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Click the link in the notes below this video for Google Map links, reports, and other information. There you will also see our Retire Cheap in Paradise catalog, how we pay for our travels, and my free ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 14 plus years.